Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. I am your host, Tina Dawson, and I thank you for joining us tonight. You are in for a treat. If you are a business owner or you're thinking about going into business, this is the show for you tonight. I am so excited about this guest. Now, every night is a treat. Let me tell you that. Every night since we've been doing this broadcast, it has been a treat. And you can find the videos on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. The videos are there as a resource for you. And I am going to invite you to go and use them as a resource and to view the videos. I'm telling you, we have had so much content since December when we first started. And I think you're going to find it beneficial. Um, Before we went live tonight, I went on the internet to look up some information about small business. So I typed in 2021 statistics on small business. I just want to read a little bit to you about what I found. Out of the 31.7 million small businesses, 3.7 million are micro businesses with 1 to 9 employees. Annually, small businesses create 1.5 million jobs and account for 64% of all new jobs in the US. There are 582 million entrepreneurs in the world. 15 million Americans work full time for their own businesses. So you may say, Tina, why did you read these statistics to me tonight? Well, it's important because small businesses are the caboose of America. And tonight's guest is going to talk about the having business accountability and having business acumen and how to properly be able to serve your customers with excellence. Help me before I do that, make sure that you like, share, and comment and stay engaged in the show because we're going to have some giveaways at the end of the show. Now, without further ado, help me give a warm welcome to tonight's guest, Mr. David Jeter.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hey, David, how are you?
I'm doing well, doing well.
I am so excited about interviewing you.
Uh-oh. I probably should have took something to calm my nerves before tonight, before we got started.
No nerves, no nerves. You are going to be fine. The
Right.
information that you're going to give us tonight is information that is needed. Every time you and I have talked, we have to practice our time management skills because we get on the phone and I'm telling you, I learn so much from you every time we talk. So
Thank
thanks
you.
so much for joining us tonight. I am so excited.
Well, so am I. But before we begin, thanks to you, Tina, for this opportunity to share knowledge and to pass this on in hopes that anyone that is attending the show tonight that's watching the show will leave with more than they came with.
Right.
Secondly, I definitely cannot go without saying a shout out to our mutual friend, Ron Wortham, who connected us together to say, oh, you two have to meet. You have to meet. And so for those that know Ron, can have an idea of how he does what he does. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs a Ron on their team because he's going to tell you what you need to hear, but you might not want to hear it. But he's going to tell you what you need to hear, and he's going to be willing to help you do that. So everybody needs a Ron. Thanks again, Ron, for making the connection for us.
Yes, and the Ron Wortham that he's speaking of, I actually interviewed. He's the owner of the Left Side of the Lion, and his video is on media production. So you can find that in our volume library of videos. So that's the Ron Wortham he's speaking of, Left Side of the Lion. And yes, everyone needs a Ron. So we're going to start the show off, David, with you telling us a little bit about yourself. So, where are you from and your family? And
I am a true native of Atlanta. So it's not every day that you run into someone that's an actual Grady baby, for those of you that know about Grady. I am an entrepreneur. I have been since 2001. My last day of working for corporate America was Halloween Day 2001. Okay. So this year I'll be celebrating 20 years of entrepreneurship. That is a sign. I first give honor to God for allowing me to be able to survive this long, even through COVID. Mm-hmm. It's been a challenge. There's a lot that I have learned, and to be in a position to be able to help other small businesses grow. So 20 years in the game, about 30 years of experience in the technology field, to where I was providing IT services for businesses all around Atlanta and the surrounding areas. That was anything from cabling to computers to servers. We're the guys that you used to call when your computer system went down, telephones, camera systems, the whole nine. And today I serve clients in and around the Atlanta area by providing coaching services, not life coaching, but business coaching and consulting for those clients. That can range anywhere from somebody just starting up, or they need to hire employees to replace some employees. That could be looking at their processes, their procedures, anything related to their business and the people side of the business.
Okay. Well, you said that you are a Grady baby. So what schools did you go to? We're going to shout out some schools.
I went to Cook Elementary, which no longer exists. I went to King Middle School, spent some time at Roosevelt High School, which eventually became Southside, where they combined Smith High and Roosevelt together. Mm-hmm. And I actually graduated from Murphy High School, which I think is Crim High School now. I'm not sure. It's been so long ago. So,
well, I went to Columbia High. So I wasn't born here. I was raised here. I've been here since the 3rd grade. So people tell me I need to stop telling that story. They say you're from here.
Yeah, you can claim it. You can claim Atlanta now.
So yeah, I'm an Eagle, Columbia High School Eagle. So yeah, proud to be. So why did you choose to pursue the career in business consulting?
Well, part of it is that I decided to stop fighting God and accept my challenge. And my purpose is to help people. And during the time that I was providing just strictly IT services for clients, business owners would come to me and ask me would I work with some of their managers and teach them some of the soft skills, the leadership skills, ask me what is it that I see in their businesses that could use room for improvement. And so in 2015, I said, you know what, God, I'm tired of fighting you because you've got more energy than me. And I started the process of gaining the credentials to be qualified to come out here and to be a consultant and to be an executive coach. And I started that by getting certified with the John Maxwell Group. I am certified on Everything DISC, which is a personality assessment that tells us how you tend to think and how you work. I'm an executive coach with the Center for Executive Coaching. Therefore, I actually know how to coach at multiple levels, not just the average business owner, but that could be somebody, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. So I've been putting in the work to get the credentials to say that I have a right to be here providing the level of services that I provide to clients.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm sure that John Maxwell certification, I'm sure that that was very beneficial in what you're doing today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You spend a lot of money, but one of the things that we have to think about as small business owners is that we have to invest in ourselves, number one, and in our business. So when I show up to a potential client, I am someone that brings knowledge that is qualified to actually provide you the services that you need. So it was a big step to make the decision to invest the amount of money that I did invest getting those credentials, but it has paid off second to none. I do not regret any of that money that was invested to get me to where I'm at today.
Right. Yeah. And you should, you should invest in yourself. I think that's great. I've read a lot of his books. So I'm familiar with John Maxwell and really like his writings and his thoughts on different topics. So let's see. So what type of clients do you like to work with?
I tend to focus on small business clients. Now, understanding that small business by definition is a company that has up to 500 employees. So when we say small, that doesn't necessarily mean the mom and pop stores. I have clients that do $30-40 million a year. And then I have clients that are just starting out as small business owners. What I look for in a potential client is, are they really ready to take their business to the next level?
Okay.
In order to do that, there has to be a particular mindset. They have to be willing to stretch their own box. They have to be ready to receive feedback. They have to be willing to do whatever it takes to take their business to the next level. So I am very, very, very picky about who I actually take on as a client. So
Right.
for the small business owners that are currently out there now listening to this live feed, I want you to really think about your goal should be is to grow your business to the point to where you get to handpick who your clients are.
Right.
Because every dollar that you make is not necessarily a good dollar. Every client is not a good client, because the client that you give a discount to and the client that you charge your regular rates with, that client you gave the discount to, you're going to work harder for them. They're going to be more headaches for you than the client that is actually honoring the rate that you gave them, your regular rate. So just
Wow.
be very, very careful about who you accept as a client.
Mhm.
So here's the traditional way. We need a service. We find them on the internet, whatever that source is. We call them up. We interview them because we're the consumer at that point. I want all the small business owners to begin to interview their potential clients to make sure that they are a good fit for you, because some people want champagne on a beer budget.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest mistakes small business owners tend to make, especially if you're starting out, is you discount the value of what you bring.
That's true.
If you've been in an industry for 20, 25 years and you know that industry inside and out, but because you don't have any training, educational background in the business side of things, you may come out here and offer your services so drastically discounted that it's not even worth your time. So
Mhm.
you have to believe in the value that you bring in the services that you deliver to any of your clients. So always ask yourself, what is my value? And that's not an easy question to answer, because you look over here to your left and you see companies that's been doing it for 15, 20 years, and they're charging, let's just throw a number out here, $200 an hour for their services. And
Okay.
you figure, who's going to pay me $200 an hour? I don't even know how to have that conversation. Well, those are the things you want to start to practice and invest in and learn how to be able to have those conversations. Learn how to be able to sell yourself so that what you say convinces that potential client that you are worth that same $200.
Right. Right.
So think about it. Think about, what is your competitive edge? Why should I use you over the next company that's doing exactly the same thing?
Right. So let me give you a hypothetical situation. And so say you have Susie, and Susie has been doing say a particular task at her job for years, right?
Mhm.
And Susie is excellent at doing it on her job. And so someone tells Susie, well, you really should think about starting a small business,
Mhm.
right? And so Susie says, okay, well, maybe I should. And then what you just said about looking at the competition and seeing how much other people charge in order for you to set your rates. Susie starts the business and she assumes that, well, I know how to do this real well. I'm going to charge the high end for my services. But now remember, we're going to set it up again. Susie was doing this on her job,
Mhm.
never ran a business before, right? So
Right.
she takes that task, she opens up a business, and now not understanding really the business, how to form the business aspect around your task or your gift, you come in and you charge the high, but you don't have the experience.
Mhm.
What would you say to someone like that?
This is the reason you hire a coach.
Mhm.
So before I get into the full answer, let me give you a counter analogy.
Okay.
You have people that go to the gym
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 times a week, and they're pretty fit, but
Mm-hmm.
they'll tell you, I'm not getting the results that I want to get, even though I go to the gym all this time. So what do? They hire a coach,
Right.
someone that's been trained, someone that has experience, somebody that knows how to get the results that you want. So when we look at Susie, I come in and I interview Susie to the nth degree. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly asking her questions. And then I'm starting to share with her how she goes about to qualify for whatever her rate is on the high end.
Okay.
I'm teaching her how to have those conversations. I'm teaching her how to prove her value. I'm teaching her how to go about planning. How do we capture that clientele that can honor the rates that I have? See, when we offer a service, we have to make sure that we know who our ideal client is.
Right.
So if I know someone is over here and they're just starting out and they only have X amount of dollars to work with, they did not get a business loan, typically they're not in a position to where they can afford to pay the high-end rates.
Correct.
But if I target clients that are already established, and I know that the market value for the services that I provide is between X and Y, and I'm about dead smack in the middle of that X and Y, then guess what?
Mhm.
Those clients are going to be more apt to accept my services at the rates that I'm comfortable charging.
Correct.
So
Correct.
then Susie has to say, well, what's the bottom end? This is my rate, but what am I willing to accept? Because everything is negotiable.
Right.
Everything. Everything on this earth is negotiable in terms of when we're providing a product and our services. So I would come in with Susie. I would spend a lot of one-on-one time with her. I would get her on the right path so that she can become more educated on the business aspects of her gift or her skills or her talents so that she can be successful. And I'm going to challenge her because we all operate within a thing called our comfort zone, that little box. That means everything inside of that box is stuff that we're used to. This is how we've been doing it. This is how we've seen someone else do it. But I'm going to challenge you to stretch that box. We're going to have that box to where the sides are no longer straight. They're going to be bowed out. They're going to have a curve to them because she's going to have to think. She's going to have homework. She's going to have to really let the rubber meet the road if she wants to be successful out here as an entrepreneur.
Okay, so let me give you another example. Let's do another one. Okay, so we're going to have Billy.
You tell me we was going to have assignments.
Yeah, so this just came up, so I'm flowing.
Pop quiz. Okay, go ahead.
So now we're going to have Billy, right? And Billy works full time, and Billy has the gift of baking cakes, right? He is just awesome at baking cakes, and people on his job love his cakes, and he sells a lot of cakes during the holidays. And somebody tells Billy, you know what, Billy, you really should start a business, right? And because Billy's listening to other people, Billy decides to, try to start the business. So what do you say to people like Billy when you meet them and come to find out Billy really likes baking cakes, but Billy really doesn't want to deal with the headaches or deal with the challenges of starting the business? Billy just wants to make the cakes. When you meet someone like that, what do you say to them?
Well, there's a couple of things I'm going to say. First off is let's sit down and we have to have a plan. One of the best clients that you can ever have is somebody that knows what they want to do and what they do not want to do within their business. Right. So it's nothing for a business to have somebody to be the face of the organization and they're behind the scenes. So the first thing is, hey, Billy, let's put together a plan. Since you do not want to be the face of this organization, who would that person be? What kind of traits do they need? Where would we find them? What kind of skills do they need to have? And then part of that plan is to find that person so that once the business is up and running, we're already moving with the plan. We know exactly where we're going. We have the right resources in place. So that way the business can go ahead and start concentrating on generating revenue and building their client base. As opposed to Billy goes ahead and says, well, I'm going to go ahead and start this business and I'll just figure it out as I go, knowing that he doesn't like the people interaction side of the equation. He's setting himself up for failure. He's setting himself up for that 80-hour work week. He's setting himself up for those stressful nights where he can't sleep because he's so stressed out of dealing with the things of the business that he does not enjoy doing, that he can't really concentrate on the things that he's talented at. So the first thing is we've got to come up with a plan, Billy, before we can do anything. Got to have a plan.
Got to have a plan. That's excellent. Yeah, because, everybody that's in business shouldn't be in business.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think what happens is, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just being a business owner is comprised of so many different moving parts.
Absolutely.
And just like your example with Billy, you may have a skill, right? And because the business has so many different moving parts, there is a part for you to play. But an executive business coach can say, just like you just said, hey, you don't want to be the face, but you're good at doing what you do. So how about we form a plan so that you can have a business, but play the key part that you would like to play so that you can, enjoy the business and grow it. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. Let's talk real quickly about the DISC, because I think this is extremely important.
Okay.
I took the DISC class, and it helped me with my children, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the DISC taught me about communication. There was 4 different quadrants, and the first thing I had to do was identify what quadrant I was in and my communication style. Then I had to understand the other 3 quadrants and how to communicate with the other 3 quadrants. And the thing that I learned is that the sender is not about the sender, it's about the receiver. Because the sender knows what he or she is trying to say, but you have to deliver it in such a way where the receiver understands what you're trying to say. And sometimes that's where that's where the breakdown comes in, is how the receiver receives it. So can you discuss a little bit about the DISC and the importance of that and having a business? Because it's all about communication.
Absolutely. So the reason I was certified on DISC is because I wanted a better understanding of people. In order for any organization to be successful, the leadership has to know who the people are that they are working with.
Right.
Some companies say nobody works for me, they work with me. Some people say, no, you do work for me. But at any rate, leadership has to understand the different personality types to be more effective with those that they are leading. So the DISC will share. Now, by the way, there's multiple versions of the DISC as it relates to. So, for example, if we're doing team building, there's a DISC that's specific to team building.
Okay.
And then it talks about how do we work better as a team. There's a DISC for leadership development. There's a DISC for management, and the list goes on and on. But the key role of DISC is to give you an insight of how a person typically operates on a day-to-day basis, their dominant style, and then how they engage with others. And then it makes recommendations of how to engage with people that do not have the same personality style as you.
Right.
What's important is that DISC is designed to be used as a tool. It is something that's in your toolbox. So let's say, for example, the word DISC is what DISC stands for. And the D is the person that's typically a very high-end, high-energy type individual. You see this a lot of time in football players or sports players. They're just, let's go, let's get it, let's go, I got it. But they don't think about the details. A lot of times they can be like a bull in a china shop, meaning they will say things and not be conscious of how it may come across to the recipient. And they may have destroyed relationships, they may have hurt feelings, and they see nothing wrong with it. The I in DISC is the person that is full of energy. They're very people oriented. They love dealing with people. They like to talk, and sometimes they talk too much, but they are definitely dedicated and committed to people. The S is the person that wants to see everybody get along. They hate conflict. They totally dislike conflict. And then the C is the person that's actually figuring out things. They're very analytical. We can't do this because of that. Now, each and every one of us is comprised of all of the 4 different styles. However, one of those styles is always going to be your dominant style, meaning that's how you're going to operate the majority of the times that I interact with you. You're going to be whatever that individual dominant style is. Now, when you take me as a business owner, let's say there's 5 people on my team, and I have a D, which is the guy or the woman that is going to be very dominant. She's just going to run over people. She's ready to go, full of energy. She's not going to think about the details. So guess what? To balance my team out, I probably need to have me a C over here that's going to be able to explain to the D, listen, we can't do it that way because we have to do this first. And if we don't do this, it's going to cause this problem. And then I need to have an S over here that's going to keep the peace between the D and the C, because the D is going to say, I don't want to hear all of that. Let's just go. It's time to go. Let's get it done. And the C is going to be saying, no, we can't do that. Right. So the S is going to come in and say, hey, I love both of you. And we all just get along and just play. And then the I comes in and say, yes, we can do this. I believe that everybody on this team brings some value, and we're going to go ahead and do this. Now we have unity.
Now you got unity. Right.
At this point in time, as a leader, I'm going to be much more effective and achieving the results and the goals that I have placed for the organization, because I understand each one of them. So when I communicate and interact with each one of them, I now know a more effective way to be able to talk to them, to motivate them, to understand how they think. So that's the purpose of the DISC. It is a tool that every business owner should have if they have employees. Second to none. You have to have it, because I promise you, what you think you know about your staff may not always be right. I have yet to be able to have a client take a DISC assessment and not come back and say, wow.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
It's eye-opening. Yes. It really is. It's eye-opening. Yeah. So
can we stay there a minute and talk about the people side?
Yeah, because I was going to ask, because I was going to ask you, because if you don't have employees and you're just dealing with your customers and clients, the DISC can help you with that also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The more effective, the better you understand how you show up on the scene. And that's a term that we use, that there's at least two versions of everybody, at least two. And in some cases, maybe 3 or 4, but at least 2 versions of you. And that's the version that you see when you look in the mirror. I am this, I am that, I do things this way, I do it this way. And then the other version is what people actually see and they experience, because they're outside of you. So there's at least 2 of those different versions. So what the DISC can help you understand is what others are seeing in you, how they see you. And so when you better understand how you show up on the scene and how people see you, the better position you are in to be able to manage yourself, to say, oh, I do need to be more conscious of my facial expressions. You know, some people resting face says, don't bother me. I don't want to be bothered. Leave me alone. But you talk to them and they say, oh, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. So the DISC will help you understand how you need to be able to manage yourself when you're interacting with others. How do you communicate with other people? Let's say you are that C person, you're very analytical, and you come across a client and they just love to talk and you can't get a word in edgewise. The DISC will help you learn how to be able to interrupt them in a professional manner so that you can keep the conversation going and get what you need, so you can get back to analyzing and doing the things you need to do. So I can't stress enough to any business owner, you have to understand your people. Your people is a core, because guess what? You think you have to work 70, 80 hours a week, but the reality is that's not the case. If your turnover is extremely high and you're still blaming all of the employees that you've had to fire, you need to slow down and take a look at yourself and say, what can I be doing different? Because if you've had 10 employees in the last 2 months, something you're doing is wrong. There's something wrong with your culture at your company, meaning that, do you have an environment to where you have somebody else on the team that may be running good help away and you're scratching your head trying to figure it out? Are you being realistic with yourself to say, hey, listen, I've got an employee here. She's been my right hand and we've been best friends for 30 years. But that friend may be the very person that's holding your business back. So you have to always start with yourself as a business owner and say, what's really going on? What am I doing? What can I do different? What can I do to grow my organization? And you always start with self, and then you look at the people on your team. Most business owners do not do that. I can't stress that enough. You have to really be honest with yourself and say, hey, listen, how do I go about building a team of people? You got to first get the right people. Get them on the bus. Get the wrong people off the bus. And then get the right people in the right places. Get the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus, and then get the right people in the right places. What does that mean? My sister's running the accounting department, but every time I look at receivables, it's never what I think it should be. I've hired 2 people to work with her to help her out because she's always complaining that she's overwhelmed. It's just too much work. I just can't do it. And these people that we keep hiring, they're stupid. They don't know how to do anything. But every time we do an exit interview, the people say she's very difficult to work with. She refuses to allow us to do anything. If we make mistakes, it's the end of the world. The way that she talks to me is unacceptable and unprofessional. So I now need to really be looking at my sister. Hey, what's going on? That's getting the wrong people off the bus.
Eh,
When we go into as a small business owner and entrepreneurship, most people don't have any money when they do this. They're not going to the banks to get a loan. I'm not saying that some do not, but I'm saying in general, most people do not. They figure this out. They say, I'm going to go make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so they rely on close friends and family members. And what the biggest mistake you can ever have is to start your business and expect family and friends to support your business to keep you afloat. If that's all you have as a customer base, then you won't be around long. Because guess what? They may not tell you, but they're tired of you coming and asking them, hey, did you go buy that online for me? Did you I ran a special on that. Can you order some more of those? Tell your friends. They're going to get tired of that after a while. It is your responsibility to figure out how to grow your business, and your business cannot survive off of just family and friends.
Yeah. Wow.
Realistic.
Wow. And I'm sure you see a lot of that.
Absolutely. I've gone into clients to where it was ran by mostly family members.
Oh.
And what happened is the father, who was the original founder of the company, was at a point to where he did not know how to be able to manage his family members, because he's trying to keep the peace on one hand, and he's trying to run the business on the other hand. And nobody enjoys being reprimanded. Nobody enjoys hearing that you're not doing a good job here. You got to understand that most employees, on average, typically think that they're doing a better job than they actually are.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you think about it and you do performance reviews, that's the business owner's opportunity to say, hey, listen, let's slow down long enough so I can give you some feedback and let you know what I am seeing, what we need to work on, and let's create a plan to get you to where I would like for you to be successful in this company. You'd be surprised. I can probably say, it's safe to say probably 85% of the clients that I have initially started servicing do not do performance reviews.
Wow.
And they'll tell me everything that each employee is not doing a great job at, but they haven't told the employee.
Wow.
So when we look at the inner operations of the business and the things that the owner should be doing, or being able to build a team so that they can delegate some of these tasks, then you're talking about moving forward.
So why do you think that they don't do the performance reviews? What have you seen? What is the reason?
Most small business owners do not know how to do a performance review. And what do I mean by that? They're not taking the time to figure out, how do we have the difficult conversations? Most small business owners will shy away from a difficult conversation. If I think I'm going to hurt your feelings, I'm going to put that off. Especially if, for the most part, you're a pretty good worker, but there's a couple of things you do need to work on. And if I think I'm going to hurt your feelings, I don't want to have that conversation. Some people do not have the tolerance to deal with that, because guess what? For every action, there's a reaction.
Yeah.
So depending on who that employee is that I'm giving the negative feedback to, they may come back in a reactionary mode and become very defensive, may threaten to quit. And they may, walk away holding a grudge, saying, okay, you think I don't do a good job? Guess what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore, because that's not my job description. So most business owners do not know how to execute a performance review. It's easy to go down the sheet of paper and say, check, rate them in different areas. But when it's time to review that performance review with the employee, they struggle.
Wow.
They do not know how. So therefore, they choose not to do it at all. And what typically happens is employees will come around after a year and say, hey, listen, I know I've been doing a great job and I deserve a raise because my friend over here is making $2 more an hour than I am. And it kind of forces the owner's hand to say, yeah, they are a pretty good employee. They're not the greatest employee, but because they are a good employee, I do need to give them a raise. Well, there's no structure when we do that. And a small business cannot be sustainable if they are just giving out raises. For example, every position within an organization should have a range of salary. You go online to Indeed.com, you look at a Fortune 500 or 100 company, they're going to tell you the salary range for this position. Now, let's say you reach top pay in that particular position. What happens then? Employees come into work. They don't want any more responsibilities. They have capped out on salary. They've hit their ceiling. So do you continue to give them raises? It depends. It depends on your industry. It depends on the situation. It depends on how long they've been there. It depends on if you're willing to come up with creative ways of compensating them to let them know you do want them to stick around. There's no single one size fits all when you have that situation. Now, I will say this. When you're giving more, you should expect more from your employees. So let's say employees making $20 an hour, they come to you and say, hey, I've been here for 18 months. You haven't given me a raise. I know that I deserve a raise, and I know you've been giving out some raises. We need to have a conversation. So you give that employee a $2 raise. What do you get for that $2? You should be in a position to communicate to them to say, hey, listen, you are absolutely right. I do want to go ahead and reward you for the hard work that you're putting in. And I was also thinking about, how do you feel about taking over X task within the company? And here's what that looks like. And by the way, I'll help get you the training you need to be successful in that. So it should never just be a give, 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 give. And a lot of times employees think that by the way, employees are tuned into WIIFM. What's in it for me? WIIFM. What's in it for me? If you as the business owner do not clearly communicate what you expect to get in return for the salaries that you're paying them, they will create their own standard of what they will give you. Please hear that. If you don't clearly communicate what you expect from an employee, they will determine what they're going to give you. And that's why you're having to work 2 hours extra tonight, because they didn't do the things that you thought they should do because you haven't communicated that.
Wow. That was good. That was good. Yeah. Wow.
So there's so much more to just saying, I want to own a business and be an entrepreneur. There's so much more.
Yeah.
I've seen businesses close. We've all seen it during this COVID because we're doing things wrong.
Right.
But last year, my revenue was up 13% because new clients came on and they recognized, hey, while everything is shut down, this is a perfect time for me to look at what I can do better in my business.
Right.
And the other reason they was able to do that is because financially, they've been doing the right things. Small business, a lot of times, the owners say, I deserve that 2021 Yukon Denali. You may deserve it, but what does that leave your operating capital?
Yeah.
Do I have to get a 2021 Yukon? How about I get one a few years older so I can manage these costs that I'm developing and still have operating capital to do things?
Wow. Yeah. COVID on one hand was bad as far as all the deaths and how it's affected everybody's families. But on the other hand, it was time that we could all be still. And like I said, and reflect and take a look at what was in our hands and really think about how can we, work on it. And, how can we educate ourselves and grow and scale, and it was a time of stillness. And, some people took advantage of it, David, and some people didn't, but I'm glad that you mentioned that because there is a lot to running a business and it's not for everybody.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about when you do have a business, let's talk about customer service and a little bit about, what we as customers should expect out of the business owner when we're coming in to buy products and services from them. What should we expect from them? Well,
before I even engage in that, can I be completely transparent here?
Yes.
Mission to be transparent.
Permission granted.
All right. So customer service, or better yet, referred to also as service delivery.
Yeah.
It's not all about what it is that you do, whether it's a product or a service, but it's about how do you go about providing that.
Right.
The reason I ask, can I be transparent, is because this, based on the things that are happening in the United States in particular, with the racial tension that we have with the former president that was in office that provided certain platforms for racial tensions to exist. This is a great opportunity for Black-owned businesses. And so there are a ton of initiatives to buy Black, buy Black, buy Black. And that's great. But no one's having a conversation about what is the caliber of service that I am receiving from a Black-owned business. Understand something. You'd be surprised how many people would love to buy from a Black-owned business. And they're willing to pay a few extra dollars or a little bit more because they recognize that you're smaller than the big guys. And so you can't get the volume pricing that they get. Right. They're willing to support you. But the reason they're supporting you is not simply just because of the color of your skin. You, as the business owner, has to understand, listen, I'm a Black-owned business. You should support me just because of that. No. Because there's a million other companies, Black-owned, Indian-owned, Caucasian-owned, it doesn't matter. They're providing the same services that you are, and they are providing service along with it. So when I walk into your establishment and I'm asking what aisle something is on, and the employee tells me, I don't know, it might be on aisle 12, and they're not willing to help me find that product, that's not good customer service.
Right.
And we have come to a point now to where we have started to accept poor service. Mm-hmm. And we have to begin to step up to the plate and say, well, you know what? I work just as hard for this $20 as a consumer that I'm about to spend. And now I need to determine who's willing to earn me as a customer.
Right.
We have to begin to have those difficult conversations to talk about, am I getting the same value when I go to a Black-owned business? And I'll be that bad guy. I want us to start having those dialogues because too many people are not having it. And we need to start being realistic. This is a golden opportunity for minority and Black-owned businesses right now. But you need to step your game up and provide quality services and products. I shouldn't walk in your store and your employees are on their cell phone and nobody greets me.
Right.
Yeah. If you don't know where the product is, hey, be willing to help me find it. I've got better things to do with my time than to walk your entire store to find a particular product. And I don't work here. So I'm saying those things to say that as a coach and as a business consultant, these are the things that I am looking at. I'm looking at how do you deliver the services that you deliver? How are you communicating with your clients? What is the caliber of your products? Are your products in stock? If you close at 10 o'clock and it's 8 o'clock and you're telling someone we're out of that product for the day, that's not good. You potentially have lost a client. Mm-hmm. And I think we fail to really acknowledge the power of the Black consumer.
Right.
And we can be premier companies, but we got to step back and look at what we're doing, how we're doing, and what we can do better.
Right.
And anyone that's on here that has supported a Black business can relate to what I'm saying because it's reality. Mm-hmm. And when you go sometimes to the owner, there's been numerous times my wife and I are out, and I'll actually pull the owner aside and say, hey, listen, I just want to make sure that you are aware of the following situation. This is what we experienced in your establishment tonight. The worst thing that can happen from that point moving forward is that owner starts to give me excuses. You're the owner. It starts and stops with you.
Yeah.
Whatever kind of service you receive in any kind of business, Black-owned or not, is a reflection of the leadership. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you go into a Chick-fil-A and they always say, my pleasure. You are always greeted. No matter what. I don't care where the Chick-fil-A is located. You get the same caliber of service across the board. So if you are a small business owner and you are Black, I want you to really think about what is the caliber of the services that you are providing and or products. There has to be more to you receiving the money that I've worked hard for, because if we get up and go out here and beat the pavement every day to earn our money, we worked hard for that money.
That's true.
Now, I'm not saying that you have to bend over backwards and kiss anybody's behind, but I'm saying, listen, show the appreciation through your services that you appreciate them coming in, supporting your business. We have to do that. And that's how we'll begin to grow Black businesses. That's how we'll begin to improve our own communities. That's how we'll be able to start to have the dollar circulate more in our communities, as opposed to the one time right now. And it leaves our communities.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're a business owner, remember, it starts and stops with you. And again, if you're working 60, 70, 80 hours on average per week, you're so burnt out. You're just trying to get through the day, and you're hoping things will fix themselves.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, nothing fixes itself. That means you got to learn to do something different. That means you got to be willing to change the game. You got to come out of your comfort zone. Your progress only starts when you're willing to step outside of what you're used to doing. You're doing the same thing every day, week out the week, month out the month, expecting different results. It doesn't work like that.
No. Mm-mm. Wow. Let's do the flip side of that. Let's talk about, you have a business owner that is doing the things right, the customer service. You know, their shelves are stocked. They're communicating with their employees. Their employees are professional. They're communicating with their customers. But then you have some customers that don't appreciate the Black business owner that has tried to offer the supreme service. Let's talk a little bit about that.
That goes back to training. Believe it or not, there's so much more to customer service than just delivering your product and or service. And what I mean by that is, when we look at the parts of communication, there's 3 parts of communication. There's a tone, there's the body language, and there's the words that we actually use.
Right.
So let's say that customer comes in and they're just difficult to deal with. Okay. Those 3 parts of communication that I just shared with you, 68% of that is body language. 37% of that is the tone that we use when we're actually communicating. And only 7% equates for the words that we use when we're talking to that customer. So if that customer is coming in and they're giving me all kind of trouble, and my body language says, you know what? I'm not trying to deal with that today. I don't know what you're doing. Even though the words out of our mouths say, well, what is it I can do to help make you happy? The body language just canceled out what we actually said. So this is why I say it goes back to the training, knowing how to diffuse that client, making sure that we are saying things that takes us in the right direction. The last thing we want to do is to get engaged in a back and forth argument with that customer. So when an employee gets to a point to where they feel frustrated and they're emotionally compromised, meaning that they're ready to use a few choice words with that customer, and they're ready to tell them, hey, there's another store 3 blocks down that sells the same thing, and you're welcome to go there. That's based on their training. That's when they get the owner involved.
Right.
And then the owner comes out, identifies himself as the owner, and hey, listen, I appreciate you as a guest, as a customer, and I want to make this right. So let's talk about what's the real issue here. And when you do that, you'd be surprised that the outcomes will vary tremendously versus you potentially losing a customer. So we have to make sure that not only are we investing in ourselves as owners, we have to invest in our team and give them the skills they need. We can have an employee that's just a natural people person, but that doesn't mean they know how to resolve conflict. That doesn't mean they know how to take care of a disgruntled customer. So we have to train them on how to do that. We have to teach them how we want it done in our business, because at the end of the day, it falls back on us.
Now, Tisha asked a good question, and she asked, what does customer appreciating the business owner look like? And I'm glad she asked that question, because you have business owners that have done what you're saying. You know, they're given the superb service, the quality products and everything. But you have some customers that just don't appreciate
Mhm.
the effort. They're just, you have some customers that, I think it's an eternal thing, because they're just miserable, and they're just going to give problems everywhere they go. But
Mhm.
I think there's some customers that just don't appreciate the Black business owner. So what
Mhm.
does customer appreciating the business owner look like?
A customer showing appreciation to the business owner are the ones that's coming in on a regular basis. You see them on a regular. They actually know the employees by name. They know the business owner by name. When you make a mistake, they're not going to make it a 5 alarm fire. Sometimes we go into a business and somebody says, "Oh, I'm sorry, that has the wrong price on it," and we will make it seem like it's the end of the world. But
Right.
a customer showing appreciation to that Black business owner is somebody that says, "Okay, well, what is the actual price?" And they're willing to work with you, because if there's a major difference between what was posted as the price and what the actual price, any business owner knows, one, that was my mistake. So
Right.
let me find the middle ground to work with them. And then that customer showing appreciation will say, "Okay, I can work with you. Let's come to the middle and do that." So it varies depending on the environment, the industry. For example, some customers actually bring gifts. I've got
Yeah.
clients now that have customers that have patients that are actually own restaurants. And when they come for their service, they bring the entire staff
Wow.
food or
Yeah.
gifts. So there are a number of ways that customers can show appreciation to the small Black business. Here's one that you may not think of. You giving constructive feedback to that small Black business owner is really showing appreciation. Here's why I say that. When you're standing in the middle of the forest, you can't always see the trees. So you can't see everything that's happening in
Mm-hmm.
your business. You think you can, but in reality, you cannot see everything. And so a customer that really likes your product and or service, and they come in and they experience something pretty negative and it's outside of the norm, for them to take time out of their own schedule to communicate that to you is customer appreciation. They appreciate you as a business owner, and they want to see you continue to be successful, and they're willing to continue to support you provided you take care of this issue.
Correct. Correct.
So I
Yeah.
hope I answered a question about how does customers show appreciation to the owners, to the Black business owners.
Well, we asked everybody to like, share, and comment throughout the broadcast, because we had some giveaways for at the end of the show. So I'm going to give you the opportunity now to talk about your giveaway.
Well, I am so passionate about helping people that I would love to see every small business owner be successful. And for those that were engaging this evening, I am giving away a 5-hour block of consulting time. And that means you are free to use me however you choose to within those 5 hours related to your business. So that could be, hey, come in, take a look at our processes, procedures. Do we have the right people on our team? What are some of the things that we need to do? And that is something that I want to give away. I believe strongly that if you give, it will always come back to you. And I want to see people be successful as entrepreneurs. Listen, it's okay if you don't have all the answers, but you need to take the steps necessary for you to get more of the answers you do not have. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
That's true.
So
Mm-hmm.
by bringing in a coach or consultant, that's how you find out the things that you don't know. So Tina, I'm going to leave it up to you to determine who that lucky recipient is, and you'll pass my info over to them, and we'll make sure that that happens. Also, if you go to my website, TNS, that's T as in Tom, N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, ATL.com, you also get a free 30-minute consult. Remember, I said in the very beginning that I am very picky about who I take on as a client.
Yeah.
Because time is the only thing that I can never recoup.
Right.
So I cannot waste time with those that are not serious about taking their companies to the next level.
Oh, it just got good. Okay. This is what we're going to do. If you have a small business, or if you're looking to go into business, start up soon, I want you to put in the comments the name of your business, or put in the comments, I'm looking to start up soon. We want to make sure that the lucky winner is someone that can benefit from your services. And like you said, time is something that you can't get back, right?
Mhm.
So we want to please put it in the comments, the name of your business, or if you're looking to start a business, what type of business is it? Put it in the comments. And we're going to select for those, there was a lot of people that were really engaged in tonight's show. So we have a lot of people to choose from. So put it in the comments. Now we have a question from Craig. Says, do you offer systems suggestions and technology? Is that part of the services that you offer?
Absolutely. Again, I have 30 plus years of experience in the technology field. And for the first 15 years of my business, that's all I did for small businesses is I helped them to determine what technology they need, because the latest and the greatest doesn't necessarily mean that's what you have to have. So I always make sure that I get in from a consulting standpoint and I find out exactly what your needs are. And then I coach you along the way of what you need to get, where you can get it from. And then I help you to negotiate the best price.
Wow. Okay.
So yes, that falls under the consulting umbrella.
You're not by yourself. That's the key. With an executive business coach, you don't have to do this by yourself. You actually have a team member that's going to be in the trenches with you. And that is such a good feeling. Because
my average client has been around 10 years, my average client. And that's simply based on the relationships that I have built and cultivated over the years. It's not always about price, because I can tell you that those clients that's been around 10, 12, 15 years, they could care less what the price is because they know the value of what they're getting when they are getting services from me.
That's right.
We have to make sure that we are building relationships with our clients, not just providing a service. I need to know how long you've been married. I need to know if you have kids. I need to know, oh, you just bought a new car. So build those relationships, and I promise you the success will come.
I have one more question for you. So if you could tell us, what is the biggest challenge that you've helped one of your clients through?
Mindset. Changing the way that you think. Any and everything that you do is all mental, meaning it starts right here. If you decide that tomorrow you're getting up at 8 o'clock, it started right here as a thought. Changing your mindset, believing that you can do this. Changing your mindset that says, I know it's been done this way for the last umpteen years, but guess what? I'm going to try it differently. Changing your mindset is the biggest challenge that I face initially with clients. And I tell you, there's no reward like when the light bulb comes on and the client says, I can't believe this is all I had to do to get these results. So the mindset plays a huge role in your level of success in how you do what you do. So think about it.
Mindset. You are so right. You are so right. Oh my goodness. I just can't wait to pick the winner at the end of the show. I am just so excited about that, because I do know the value. Last month I celebrated 12 years of being in business, right? And that was 12 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But that was 12 years of doing it basically solo. And so this year things started to happen, and I started putting key people in place.
Building a team.
Yeah, I had certain people, but God just started putting just key people in place, and I'm like, I'm not by myself. And that is just such a good feeling. I now have a bookkeeper, and I'm like, I don't know how I survived. That has to be the grace of God. How I survived for 12 years without a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Because that's somebody that holds you accountable and somebody who's able to help you in areas that you don't know thereof, such as an executive business coach. Because a lot of things that you talked about when you're a small business owner, David, and you know this, you're just trying to do the business, crank out whatever the product or service is. And there's a lot that goes lacking, right? Because it's only you, but your services are so key because you're able to come in with the small business owner and help them put together the one thing that you said, a plan.
Absolutely.
A plan of how to execute, right? And that is so key. But when you're by yourself, you don't think about the plan is to get up.
Exactly.
And get through the day.
To make it through paying all the bills and dealing with everything. Listen, we always say that we can't afford something.
Yes.
And the reality is we afford what we choose to afford.
All right.
So when you have a cost before you that's going to benefit you and it's going to give you a return on that investment, you have to say, what sacrifice am I willing to make so that I can afford that?
Right, right. Well, we're going to end on that note. David, thank you so much. We're going to have to do part 2 later in the year because this was good. I was so excited about interviewing you because it is crucial information. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed tonight's interview. I sure have. I know that you have.
Thank you for having me, Tina.
A lot of people have been commenting, no, thank you for saying yes. Now you stay on. Don't go anywhere.
All right.
Thank everybody for tuning in. This is Tina Dawson, the host of True Blue Designs, The Inside Perspective. We're on every Wednesday, same time, same place. See you next Wednesday. Good night.
Good night.